Okay, thank you everybody for joining today's webinar. We'll be discussing integrating Aspera high-speed file transfer technology into your own web applications. We will be recording today's session and we'll have that recording available for you to review afterwards. Everybody will get a link on that availability. So let's go ahead and get started. Hi, my name is Jason Warman. I run the technology group here at PacGenesis. I've been working with Aspera technology for quite a long time, so happy to help introduce the discussion today. I'm joined today by Tobo Achu, who's a senior platform architect at IBM Aspera. Tobo has many years of experience in leading the Aspera developer network team. You know, he works directly with customers to help them architect and integrate Aspera technology into their workflows and applications. So he's sort of uniquely suited to give us a bit of a deep dive today into the integration possibilities around Aspera. So just a quick overview of today's agenda. I'm going to take just a few minutes here at the beginning to give a quick overview of the Aspera technology in general. Maybe a little bit of a refresh or an intro for those of you that aren't very familiar with it, or maybe it's been a while since you visited Aspera. We'll be looking at, after that, looking specifically into some of the APIs. And in particular, we're going to sort of focus in on two of the APIs that are most commonly used, particularly when you're thinking about taking web applications and you know, replacing the traditional transfer part of that workflow with Aspera technology. That's the Connect API and the Node API. Tobo will also be doing a couple of demos around the specific integration capabilities to give you a better sense of, you know, kind of what it looks like and introduce you into some of those particulars of the API sets. And of course, we will have some time reserved at the end of the session today for a bit of Q&A. So actually on the Zoom webinar panel on your computer there, there's a Q&A section. Feel free as we're going through this to submit questions. We're going to be making a note of all of these, and we'll, like I said, have some time to answer those questions at the end of today's session. And of course, we're always happy to have follow-up discussions with any of you to get into you know, even deeper discussions here or into the particulars of your own applications and workflows and how we can help you around the Aspera technology portions of that. So just as a quick intro about PacGenesis, if you're not familiar with us, you know, we're founded back in 2012 here in Texas. We work with a good set of global customers, and we specifically kind of focus in on digital content workflows. You know, a lot of us came from IBM or former IBM and Aspera employees. And of course, we are a premier IBM Aspera business partner. So do a lot of work with our customers around Aspera, but we also, you know, touch on other parts of you know, content workflows. You know, we're partners with other folks like Erdetto around content security, and Fifth Kind around you know, digital asset management, and even those other two partners of ours do integrations of their own, like the ones we're going to be talking about today, where they pull in Aspera for you know, pieces of their workflows and their solutions. So happy to kind of get into some of those details with everybody. A lot of what we talk about and a lot of what Aspera has traditionally worked with is often in the media and entertainment space, but we are seeing this same type of application really across all markets. You know, we work with a lot of folks in areas like life sciences, where they have similar challenges around, you know, you can think of like large genomic data sets, or same thing in the oil and gas industry, or even something like the legal and e-discovery space, where there's large amounts of very small files that need to be transferred back and forth, and often done so in a way that's integrated with other web applications, which is what we're discussing today. Okay, so for the Aspera technology overview, again, just kind of a brief level set for folks that maybe aren't too familiar with it. IBM Aspera, specifically gets into and solves issues around bulk data transfer, and in particular, bulk data transfer in challenging network conditions. Um, those of you that run your own applications that have some sort of file upload, file download component to them may be familiar with this challenge already, right? This is the scenario when you're thinking about, let's say FTP or HTTP type transfers, where there's a technical bottleneck in the underlying TCP protocol that underpins all of those traditional ways of moving files around. And really the crux of it is that, if you're ever in a scenario where there's a little bit of packet loss or a little bit of increased latency, right, round trip time in between the sender and receiver, then you'll get a pretty poor performance with those existing protocols. It's a challenge that folks have been dealing with for quite some time. IBM and IBM Aspera have addressed this through a unique software protocol called Aspera FASP, that stands for the Fast Adaptive Secure Protocol, that is built for these kind of scenarios, right? So even when the underlying network conditions aren't great, right? Even when there's packet loss or high latency, the Aspera FAST protocol can still go at full speed, at maximum speed. And then they build in a lot of other nice features that you would expect out of a high performance transfer protocol, right? Things like congestion avoidance. This is built in here. So being able to automatically throttle down when there is other traffic on the wire and ramp back up when it when that other traffic goes away. Or the capability of having very specific policy controls, right? Maybe based on the time of day, or who the end user is, or what source IPs they're coming from, or even in more of a real-time way based on what your business needs are. Those types of policies to give higher or lower priority or very specific speed limits are built into the protocol stack and are available not only through the Aspera software but through the APIs as well. Security and reliability is part of the Aspera solution down to its core. So making sure that everything is encrypted over the wire, fully reliable, right? So any data loss or data corruption is automatically taken care of. That's all part of the solution here. And as we'll see, everything from a management, monitoring, and control aspect are built in as well, right? So what's happening in real time with your Aspera transfers, what's happened historically. Now, all this comes down to, of course, for a lot of folks, this performance breakthrough where, regardless of how far you're sending data or the underlying network conditions, it sort of reduces it to a math problem, right? How much data are you sending? How much available bandwidth do you have to send it? And we can work out, what those transfer times are going to look like. And as you can see, it is very linear as you start increasing the amount of data or varying the amount of bandwidth. It is a sort of a pretty direct relationship between those two factors and what the what the transfer times are going to look like. So it really does give you a practical and predictable way of moving your data around. Okay, so how is this made available? So this is just sort of a big picture view here. This Aspera protocol, the FAST protocol I've been talking about, is underneath all of these solutions that we're going to be talking about today, right? So the protocol, the FASP protocol, is always the same. There's a server-side component here in the middle called a high-speed transfer server that you would typically deploy on-premise, on a Linux server in your data center, or you can deploy this in a public cloud, right? So there's cloud support for object storage in AWS, for S3 storage, or the IBM Cloud, Azure Cloud, Google Cloud. These are all built-in capabilities that the Aspera Transfer Server has. Now, on the client side of this equation, there are a lot of different options that you can see sort of layered on top here. When we think about web applications, there's a web client or a client for web-enabled applications called Aspera Connect. So this is a native code application that has hooks for the major browsers, so i.e. Edge, Firefox, Safari, Chrome on Windows, Mac, and Linux. And because we have these two pieces in place, right, the server-side transfer server and then the client-side connect client, we have full control. We can initiate this Aspera protocol and have this high-speed sort of channel to do high-speed uploads and downloads in and out, depending on what your workflow is. Now, IBM has a number of different modules and off-the-shelf options to sort of integrate this or deploy it naturally. But there is also a full set of APIs, and that's really what we're going to be focusing on today, is taking those core pieces, having the server-side high-speed transfer server, having that client-side Aspera Connect client, and then using the APIs so that you can take your existing web applications, keep whatever your workflow is, keep that the same, right? Keep the UI experience, the look and feel, keep your authentication and authorization in your application where it belongs, and just use the Aspera APIs and these two pieces to enable high-speed transfers between them. So a very brief introduction there into Aspera. So now I'd like to turn it over to Tobo, who can, again, kind of go a little bit more deep into the specific Aspera APIs that we'd like to discuss, and then also give you a demonstration of what those API capabilities are, so you get a better sense of what this would look like in your own environment and in your own applications. So with that, let me again introduce Tobo. Please go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, Jason, for this nice introduction and presentation. I'll try to bring myself on the same par. Hi, everyone. Yes, indeed, the portfolio that Jason just described is very rich. And we, as a vendor, we see a lot of demand, a very huge demand for automation, for integration, because this protocol is great and there is a rich ecosystem around it. And people are really keen on building complex and sophisticated workflows. And also, in order to meet that demand, we need to provide a solid and rich and consistent tool, robust APIs, and elegant SDKs. Jason, can I have the way to share the screen, please? Thank you. So this is basically, yeah. So providing a way for our customers to be able to build those sophisticated workflows, we provide a rich set also of APIs and SDKs. One of them is, the first of them is for the web application, the REST API. So we have REST APIs on our high-speed transfer servers to enable developers to start transfer against those servers or to query the different transfers. We also provide SDKs to build completely native applications, whether client application or server-side application. And We have bindings in different programming languages. We also provide ways to build application using mobile SDKs, both for iOS and Android. And we have also application-specific mobile SDKs like for Fastback. Fastback, as Jason just described, is collaboration or delivery web application that we have, which allows to share packages, to build package, to add metadata and share them. Traditionally, we were on the closed file domain. So taking a file which is already complete and then share it, send it over any distance. And then now we also have the possibility to just transfer streams of data. That means that you're building a workflow where the file is coming, or you're getting just the bytes out of an encoder. You'll be able to transfer those stream of bytes directly into a file, or you take a file, a closed file, and then you're sending it to a decoder, for instance, and we will be able to still to use the FAST protocol in order to do that. And there is demand to use SDKs or to build complex application using those kind of capabilities. And one aspect that we will dive into today is browser domain application. So we have also the Connect API, which allows to build browser-based integrations, but I will talk more about that one during this call. We have provided to developer most of the time, what they want is a very quick way to take something or to build the integration which is working. So we have what we call the API Hub, which is located on developer.ibm.com/Aspera, where you'll be able to find all of our APIs, the SDKs, the documentation, developer guides, sample code, something that you can quick guide to not to read to my documentation, but to be able to take piece of code that is working and build your integration. So this hub is open, it's free. You can just go there and have a look and review the different APIs and documentation and the different SDKs that we have there, whether for specific application. There is also a premium subscription for people who really want to use IBM Aspera support, to have meeting with our developer team, or to also have licenses to be able to try themselves and start really on the road of success for the integration. So most of the time, people, when they came to us, it is that they have some challenges, like they have a MAM or they have a transfer portal, they're using HTTP, and then they say, okay, will I be able to leverage IBM Aspera high-speed transfer from within my own web application, or for just our own company, or to provide a transfer service to their customers using FAST as added value. And we are here for that with the Connect API. The Connect API is really suited for those kind of use cases, building custom web application or providing third-party service where transfer capability is really the added value. Akamai, Nox Media Hub, Iconic, OpenText, all we have successful integration where just using a few lines of JavaScript code, we are able to create solid integrations using Connect API with using the Node API for the server side integration as well, to be able to query the different transfers and cover entirely the spectrum from the browser to the server side. But we'll talk a bit more about that also during this meeting. So the Connect API is actually the JavaScript part, and it brings the Aspera transfer into the web browser. As Jason was saying a few minutes ago, we're using a really modern architecture, and we are supported in the different major browsers and multiple platforms. Yeah, we're coming a long way. We've been there since the plugin era. We use NP API, we used native client, we use Paper API, and today, and we're following what is the best in the technology in terms of browser support. And today, Connect is using browser extensions to be to embed that transfer capability within the browser. Before moving further, I would like to say here that we are also providing a JavaScript API, but this is not the point of this talk today. But we are also able to leverage JavaScript within browser in cases where Connect will not be able to be installed, for instance. So we have an API which is also using Aspera. If you want to learn more about that, you reach out to PacGenesis or to Aspera, and we can showcase how this works using the HTTP gateway technology that we have today. So to leverage Connect API, it is pretty straightforward. There are 3 steps, very simple. The first one is just to add the browser script tag into the HTML or into the renderer. So very simple. We have the script in CloudFront, or you can also host it yourself if you don't want to load it all the time from CloudFront. But usually we recommend using it from CloudFront, because if there are updates, you get them for free. Second step is just to initialize the Connect library. Very simple, 2 lines of code, init, session, and that's it. And then we are also using JavaScript promises in order to get information about the transfers, or to get information about how the client is working. And we also use callbacks. So everything that is very common for all JavaScript developers. But how do you start a transfer? The method name is very intuitive. You know, the name of the method to start a transfer is start transfer. So on the library, you start you create you initialize a Connect instance, and then you call start transfer on it with a transfer spec. Transfer spec is actually a JSON object that describes all the information, all the specification that I needed in order to start a transfer. So it can go from the path of the file that you want to transfer to what the Aspera server that you are transferring against is. But I will show you in the demo how to do that. And then you can also leverage the event listener in order to get information about the transfer, the progress of the transfer, if you want to display the progress of the transfer. That is something that is really interesting. The other end of the transfer is the Aspera server on the server side. There, we also have APIs, because if we want really to cover or to provide ways for automation, we need to cover the entire spectrum. So on the server side also, there are API, which is using REST architecture style, and it is available directly in all the Aspera servers, all the high-speed transfer servers, whether on cloud or on-prem. And this service is on TLS, so secured, and we support HTTP basic or bearer token authorization. We also so what do you do with that Node API? One first thing is you should be able to do file system operations. Browse from the REST API, the Aspera server, to know what are the files there, or to create files or folders, to find, to do all the file system operations that you can think of. So this is something that is really important, because your web application can be located not on the same place where your storage is, because I have a SaaS implementation where the storage is on any cloud object storage, and your web application will need to populate the data, which are the folders where people need to upload data to, or the files that people might be able to download. So using that Node API endpoint for browsing or for doing those file system operations is in many times crucial. You can also generate token, transfer token. So let me talk really briefly about the transfer token here. When we do a transfer, there are data moving from the server to the client side, or from the client side to the server side. And security is really pivotal there. We need to make sure that data that are being moved, people are authorized to do so. So we have that transfer token, which is used to uniquely define if an upload is authorized for which file over a limited period of time for a given user. So you can use an API endpoint on the Node API in order to generate that token that will be used by the client. The client will need to present that token for the transfer to be authorized. You can also manage transfer, like starting a transfer, monitor transfer, stop it. So the Node API is also there. And you can also manage permissions on the server regarding the files that are there. So you can delegate, your web application can delegate also permission management to this API. And there are also the access keys. So you can define, you can have a single folder, and then you can define different permissions or access levels for different users using the access keys. But we'll talk more about transfer token generation and also about browsing files and folders later during this meeting. So, rich integration usually follow this kind of handshake. You know, in the browser-based, there is a call from the browser, the user, to the web application loading the page, and then with a need to do a transfer. So your web application will request the token, authorization token that we just saw in the previous slides from the server, get that token, and then in step 5, use that token in order to start a transfer. If that token is valid, the Aspera server will accept the transfer, otherwise the transfer will be denied. That is a level of security which is really important, because the assets that is moved or that you move are really crucial for your business. So we need to take good care of them. So that is the usual handshake that we recommend when doing those kind of browser-based integration. And we will see that also later during the demo. We're here now for the demo. So what we'll see is I will show really a very simple Node.js example where we will do a very basic download. So very simple, just to show you how simple it can be to do a transfer using the Connect API. And then I will show another example in PHP where we can do an upload or download there using the handshake that I just showed a few minutes ago. And then I'll show you something else, which is a real world and existing integration which is done by IBM Cloud Object Storage team using the Connect API. So bear in mind this handshake because we will see it in a few minutes. So I'm now turning to the demo. So the first demo that I'm going to show you is the one about just doing a very simple upload and download. So for this, I just took Express.js, which is a framework on Node.js to build HTTP server really quick. And then I use a template renderer template engine, which is Pug. That is really cool to build things and render. So just going to show you how we do that integration. So this is the page that is going to be rendered. So the first thing that we do is to add the script tags, which is Aspera web4.js. We add it to the page that is going to be shown. And then in our JavaScript code, there are the two other aspects that I showed during on the slide. Initialize connect and then start a transfer. Very simple. And then, so let's have a look at how it is. So I just start it now. Go to the page. And then, so we have this page. Very simple, just to show that it is working. I borrowed this image from PacGenesis, which is the background. So maybe I'm just going to add it to the background and see if we can. Okay, nice. Okay, so this is our custom page. And then if we click, so I add a button in the script to say, here we go. If I click on that button, just do a download. And the download code is very, very simple, which is here. Build a transfer spec, and then we start a transfer. Let's do that and see what we have. Click there, and then it's open this page. And this is going to do an Aspera download. So I'm downloading this file, which is 100 megabyte file. And it's pretty fast. I have a steady 59, 60 megabit per second, which is pretty good in my area here. So very simple. The next one is going to be a little bit more sophisticated, I will say, because I'm now using both the Node API and Connect API. So Connect API part, you already know about it. First thing, we include Aspera web4.js, the script tag, and then we init connect. So those are the two first things that we have to do. So that is what we do here. And then to do a transfer, as I showed earlier, we call, let me just show you, we call start transfer, right? So we build a transfer spec, and then we call start transfer. So this is what we're going to see. The difference here is we have at the back end a way to make API calls to the Node API. So this part of the code, the Node Connect, the PHP is running is the back end, the web application. And this one is making API calls to the Node API in order to retrieve the tokens, the transfer tokens. So let me show you this really quick. This is the API hub that we talked about earlier. On the API hub, you have two endpoints that I'm talking about here to create upload token, and this one to create download token. So to create that, the call is very much simple. You create a JSON object, you specify what the paths that you want to transfer, if it's going to be an upload or a download, and you might also specify how long you want the token to be valid, and then you make the call, and you get back a transfer spec. So this is what this code is doing. Let's exercise it really quick. So it is PHP. So I'm starting just a local PHP server here, and then I'm going here and starting my page. Yeah, it's two things to note here. This browsing is browsing the remote Aspera server. So here we have some files over here that we can upload or download. There are very small files here. There are some really small, bit small, and there are some large ones. You can just pick one of those large and download. So exactly as what we saw before, we are able to download it. So here, what is interesting is I'm leveraging the transfer event and printing really the progress of my transfer over here. So as you can see, we have in this window, exactly the same. Note that this activity windows can be hidden. We don't really all the time need to have it here. So we can just leverage directly on the web page, the progress and how we want the transfer to happen. We just did a download. We can also do really quickly an upload to this directory. I'll take a small file, 5 megabyte file, and see the same way that we are able to upload it really simple to the destination. There is something that I wanted to show you also on the first demo, which is when we do on a download of a file in here. I download that file, we can see it in the activity that this file landed here in the folder of in this folder over here, and the name is 100 mg. So I can decide when doing the transfer to immediately rename the file at the destination. So I can set this and say, let's say webinar demo file 1, for instance. And then if I run again this transfer, let me run it once again. And I choose this. As you can see, the name of the file is the new one. So this is something that is really cool, because sometimes on some integrations, you might have on your file system the file with some cryptic names, and when people are downloading them, you want to be able to provide them with name that makes sense. So you can on the fly rename transfer files directly from the transfer spec, like what we just did here. So the third demo that I wanted to give you is on IBM Cloud. So here is the IBM Cloud Object Storage. Here you can see we have object storages. I have different buckets on different locations. And I'm just going to pick one that I have here for this demo. This team integrated the Aspera API, whether the Connect JavaScript API and the Node API in their own page, in order to allow their customers to be able to upload or download content. And as you know, on object storages, you can download or upload content using the standard HTTP way. So the standard upload, for instance, they provide a way to do a standard upload if the area where people are lost it. So I'm just going to take one of those files. I can take the smallest one, 50 megabytes, using the standard upload. So the upload starts. It's going well. And I decide also to do an Aspera high-speed transfer upload. And I'm going to take, this one. Oops, the joy of light. So I'm going to pick the So I start two transfers, one with Aspera and the other one with the standard upload, HTTP upload. While this is flowing, I will come back to it later. I just wanted to show you really quick what the documentation of the Connect API is. Well, I don't have the time to go there. The Aspera transfer is complete. So as you can see, I uploaded 180 megabytes using Aspera and 50 megabytes using the standard upload. And it seems like, the Aspera upload is completed long before. So let's go to the documentation. So the Connect documentation is over here, and this integration was using the add event listener in order to be able to print all the progress that we were seeing in this a few minutes ago. And the progress is printed using the add event listener. And also the other aspect that's is really important is about the transfer spec, the way transfer is started. The transfer spec, as I was saying, is the way we define how we want the transfer to go. If we want it to use a cipher or not, if we want it to remain encrypted at rest at the destination, or if we want it to create a destination folder if it doesn't exist, all those kind of things are encompassed within the transfer spec. So from Aspera perspective, this is really the lingua franca of all of our transfers. So whatever transfer you want to do within IBM Aspera, transfer spec is really central to that. Next thing is the Node API. As you can see, over the API hub, you have access to the different endpoints. They are well documented. Please feel free to go there and have a look if you're planning on integration. Okay. So anytime you think about transfer within IBM Aspera, I think transfer spec, the JSON object for that. If you're planning on those integrations, yeah, feel free to reach out to PacGenesis or to IBM Aspera, and we'll be happy to show you more in detail all those different APIs. Thank you. I think that we should have a few questions. I will turn it back to you, Jason.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Tobo. Really appreciate that, and hopefully that helped convey some of the capabilities of the Aspera API set. Now I know that we've had a few questions come in over the webinar, so I think Deepak on our team has been compiling those. Let's see if we can answer some of those now for you guys.
Sounds good. Hey, Jason. Hey, team. So the first one that came in was, what authentication does the Node API use? Tobo, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, sure. So two aspects. The first thing is we are served over SSL, first thing. So in terms of authentication, we support HTTP basic authentication. So you define on the server side a node user and its password, or an access key and its secret. So for this kind, it is HTTP basic authentication. And we also support OAuth 2 in terms of you provide a bearer token with defined scopes, and then be able to be authorized to do some operations on the server. So today we are more inclined on the OAuth 2, the bearer token approach, but we support both of them, HTTP basic and bearer token.
Thanks, Tobo. Another question that came in, Jason, maybe we'll have you answer this one. Can you use this Connect API with Fastbacks?
With Fastbacks, yeah. So for those that don't know, Fastbacks is one of the web applications that IBM Aspera offers that gives a user-to-user web experience, user-to-user package delivery web experience. And there's actually a Fastback specific API that's probably more appropriate. That Fastbacks API is available. It's on the IBM developer hub that Tobo showed you earlier, and it's aware of all of the Fastback specific constructs, things like the packages and drop boxes. So we'd encourage you to investigate that. And actually, there's a wide suite of APIs that Tobo touched on, not only for Fastbacks, but also for the other Aspera products, like Aspera Console has its own REST type API to interact directly with it.
Perfect. Thanks, Jason. Another one that came in was, were there any requirements to change or update integrations with the recent release of HSTS 4.0? Tobo, any answers on that one?
We try all the time to be backward compatible. So from the REST API, the Node API perspective, there is, if you have prior to 3.9, yeah, maybe you'll need to change from the don't know if you're using already Node API in the 3.9x versions. Yeah, moving to the 4.0 will not induce any change for you from API perspective. We added some new things. We like what we call the dynamic tokens in order to increase security, but in terms of the usage, if you upgrade, yeah, you won't expect any break in your server. Yeah. What we also added is, for those of you who are familiar with the SOAP API in the old days, yeah, we also make sure that we have all the options that were available in that SOAP API. We made also sure that we have them in that 4.0 version. Yeah, so it is all good, I will say, all benefits.
Perfect. Thanks, Tobo. It looks like we have just a few more. One other one that came in is there any additional charges on the Aspera side to enable the APIs?
Yeah, so nothing additional required there. All of the Aspera products are fully API enabled out of the box. And that includes the things that you guys may be familiar with, like Aspera high-speed transfer server, as well as the SaaS offerings from Aspera and applications like Fastback and Console. So happy to discuss those in more detail if you have a specific workflow that you'd like to discuss with us.
Thanks, Jason. And looks like one other question we got was if Aspera has considered providing a front end that users could put on their site with their own stylized CSS. Is Aspera looking into anything like this, Tobo, as we go forward?
In terms of front end, we have AOC with its front end done with Carbon 10. We have Fastback with the new look and feel. And we have our own styles that we use in our own web applications. If we have demand, yeah, we can also consider that point and see how integrators can benefit from it. And we are also moving in great directions in terms of making sure that all the sites that we have now are using exactly the same. We align all of them so that the experience across the different product is the same, whether for the APIs or for the product themselves. Yeah. So with regards to the front end API, which is the Connect API, we can think about that. I'm open to hear more about the specific of that question. Yeah, feel free to reach out to us and we can have a rich conversation on that and see how we can really do great thing on it. And we are also as IBM, we are also on the edge for open sourcing things, so that can also be something interesting that we can think about. Yeah.
Sounds good. And there's definitely been a few questions asking about sessions in the future around AOC and APIs around the packaging inside of AOC. We will definitely on the PacGen and IBM team work towards that as we go forward as well. And we will be adding a lot of that information into our training portal that's on our website as well. So definitely keep an eye out for that, but there will be additional sessions and webinars on AOC and the API side of that as well. Jason,
Yeah, we have a really great engagement in developer enablement, doing everything that is needed so that our API are easier to consume and more aligned. So we are all the time happy to share about that. So and we can work, as you were saying, Deepak, together on that for our mutual customers. Yeah.
Cool. I think that was pretty much everything for Q&A. Jason, I'll pass it back to you to close it out.
Okay, thanks so much, Deepak, and thank you, of course, Tobo, for the session today. Thank you, everybody, for joining. We want to, again, say thanks for attending the webinar today. The recording of the webinar, a link will be sent out after the session, so that you can have this for your reference or share it with colleagues that weren't able to make it today. Also, please do feel free to reach out to us, sales@pacgenesis.com. We're happy to have follow-up discussions and talk about, expand on anything that we discussed today or any of the new workflows or applications that you and your organizations have that could benefit from some sort of high-speed file transfer mechanism like we've discussed today. So that'll conclude today's webinar. Thanks again for joining, everybody.